Seven plans to do with its newly raised $300 million, plus the big Match Media agency sale. But first, the new radio ratings are out from GfK in the third survey of the year for commercial radio. The stars of the newly merged Macquarie Radio, 2GB and 3AW, remained top spot in Melbourne and Sydney by a long shot. Well, for more on that newly merged business and the ratings, we are joined by Adam Lang, Chief Operating Officer at Macquarie Radio Network, and of course, as always, our co-host James Manning, editor and publisher of Mediaweek. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So before we get deeper into the ratings, this week really showed the merger started to make some sense when you see the size of the network offering, I guess, in terms of ratings to advertisers with those two top spots in both Sydney and Melbourne. Do you feel like you've done a lot of the hard work now?
Many ways the hard work's just begun. It's week 10, but it's gone incredibly quickly. So the formative work in getting this network together, yes, it's been done. There's always much more to do, but proudly this week, 2GB number one again in Sydney and 3AW number one again in Melbourne, and we've had some growth in Brisbane, which has been very pleasing to see, and 6PR's in a good spot.
Yeah, I think just as a little aside too, it's probably the first time someone's owned the number one stations in Sydney and Melbourne. I mean, FM's probably never ranked number one in those markets, I don't think, overall.
There was a time, not overall, you're absolutely right. There was a time, you know, Austereo, Southern Cross Austereo, the Today network was very strong in an FM sense, but in that kind of artificial divide of FM versus AM, it was never been number one overall. Yeah. Now,
tell us a little bit about was a marriage of equals roughly, wasn't it, I think? Is it Fairfax have 55%, Macquarie 45%, is that pretty much it?
Yeah, roughly.
You've taken the title of COO, but there's a plan for you to move up to CEO when Russell Tate steps back?
Yes, so Russell Tate's Executive Chairman, 12 months is the estimated timeline. So I've got 12 months to prove myself, or not. I aim to prove myself in that time.
We'll
see how it goes. Going all right so far.
A lot ahead of you, all right. Well, you've copped a bit of criticism for cutting staff members, including closing the 2UE newsroom. What do you say to that in terms of the rationale behind it, in terms of profit going forward?
Sure. The redundancies are very difficult, and a lot of good people were let go. The reason for that is that in Sydney we clearly had two entities operating. So we had two sales teams, we needed one. We had two newsrooms, we needed one. So rather than close a sales team or close a newsroom, we've merged both. We've got a fantastic sales team in Sydney, agency and direct, and in the news team we've got a fantastic news team in Sydney, which we would argue, of course, is the strongest in radio.
In terms of the big picture stuff, what have you still got to do? I understand the music network is yet to take shape. We've got two Magic stations, 2CH, which is for sale. What's got to happen there? Have you got to wait till that sale happens before you can finalise all that?
There are some qualifications for the ACMA, you know, while we're still operating that licence, and it's for sale. But we can still sell it as a network proposition, and while we've got a fantastic news talk offering across the country, the Magic 1278 in Melbourne, 882 in Brisbane, and 2CH is a terrific complement to that as a music network. So yes, we have some work to do on that front. Then the very exciting operational world of traffic systems, finance systems, etc.
Just on that sale, would that be conditional at all that they need to be part of a network on that sale to 2CH, or
no,
it'll go for the highest dollars or whatever, presumably?
Indeed, the sale needs to look after itself, and the new owner will determine how it's to be operated. It may include the way it's operating now, and maybe something different. So we'll leave that to the owner's determination.
Yeah, okay.
All right, let's take a look at some of the radio ratings now. We know, obviously, you got the top spot in both Sydney and Melbourne, but let's kick it off with Sydney to take a look at that. There you see 2GB, 11.9% there in top spot.
Yeah. Interesting thing is Sydney, I guess, is the strength of your old home, Triple M, Adam, doing very well, mate. It's been a while since they've probably been up that high in the rankings. Your station, 2GB, doing very well there. 2CH just out of the top 5. But what's the long-term plan for 2GB and 2UE? Would you like to see them both rating a lot higher? Is it okay to have one up and one down?
I think it's a great question. 2GB number one, we think there's a little more in it. You know, that 11.9 is terrific. Dominant number one, of course, is terrific. But we actually believe there's more growth in it from that. Same with 2UE. And the differentiating factor is when you've got a strong news talk network that has its agenda, what can you do with 2UE as a joint owner rather than competitor? So we're looking at that. In terms of 2CH, we see it taking a good spot in there, a little north of where it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Before we move on to Melbourne with you, we just want to ask you, James,
Yes.
about one of the other headlines coming out of Sydney is of course Today FM, and they've got an upcoming, Southern Cross Stereo's got an incoming boss coming in.
Yeah, big challenge for Grant Blackley there, but it sort of crystallises what he's got to do, I guess. It's that Hit Network or the Today Hit Network. I won't ask you about it because you used to be there, but I think it's maybe time to drop the Today. Today Hit Network is confusing. Just go with Hit.
Is that enough,
Start from scratch, I think. Dan and Maz aren't the problem. I think it's the brand. You've got some good talent in there, but it shows him what he's got to do. That's the big job in radio, and it's also showed him that Triple M is going pretty well. So you don't need to focus there too much. It's just one thing to look at hard when you get in there.
All right, let's take a look at Melbourne now then. We know 3AW took the top spot there as well, 13.7%, well ahead of the number 2 spot.
Yeah, look, again, it's at Triple M for Southern Cross Stereo, doing very well in there. People talk a lot about the 3RW up and down, but when you've got a big lead like that, it's not a big deal, is it, to go up 1 or 2 points for 3RW?
No, it's not. We came off a very strong 15 base, and we honestly and jealously believe we work hard and deserve it. 13.7 is still incredibly strong. And again, we focus on always growing.
Yeah, and this is the top 5 commercial stations, Ingrid, of course. The interesting thing that's not there is Nova not in the top 5, and the rebranded Kiss is not in the top 5. And I think the owners of both those stations would like to see them performing a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right, let's take a look at Brisbane now and the ratings for that for Survey 3.
Yep, 97.3 up there. ARN doing very well. FM does very well in the Brizzy market. Again, Triple M, doing fantastic business up there, up in the top 3. I'm guessing it probably hasn't been there for a while. None of your stations in that top 5, Adam. What's going on there, mate?
You make a very good point, James, and we are working hard on that. Part of the benefit of the merger that we've just had is using some phenomenal talent such as Alan Jones, Ray Hadley, Ross Greenwood to complement Claire Blake, Ben Davis, in our lineup, the rugby league season. We've had some growth in this last survey to a 5, obviously from a base that we think should be lifted a lot more, so we're very focused on Brisbane, both 4BC and Magic 882.
Yep.
All right, some work to do there. Let's take a look at Adelaide now in terms of the top 5 for Adelaide ratings. Mix coming in number 1 at 14.3% there.
Yeah, again, it's a traditional owner there in Adelaide. Mix always does very well in those surveys. See 588 number 3. It's the commercial talk station you don't own, Adam. Have you had an opportunity to buy it, and would you, do you think?
We haven't yet, but we sell 5AA as part of the network
so you
offering.
Represent the
we
ads,
do,
yep.
and
Okay.
we've got a terrific relationship with Nova Entertainment. Occasionally do some programming together, cricket, budget specials, etc. So we're very much aligned in terms of the nature of the content and selling. One day we could look at that.
Yeah, and as we always say, there's only 6 commercial stations in Adelaide, so if you don't make the top 5, it's not a good look.
Bottom spot.
The Hit Network station's the one missing there, so again, just crystallises that work that Grant Blackley's got to do when he gets in there.
Yeah, a lot ahead there for Southern Cross Stereo. All right, Perth ratings now, the top 5, taking a look at those ones. Mix coming in top spot there as well.
Yeah, yep. Again, Mix is hard to unseat there. It's very close between Mix and Nova's actually got number 1 at breakfast, I think they are, so they had a good survey over there. 96 is the station you sold, Adam, so you got rid of that, got a bit of cash. 6PR, they didn't have a great survey. They had a great survey last time. Breakfast is still their shining light over there, but had a real big drop in, I think, in morning and afternoon, which is possibly a bit of a glitch in the ratings, and we might see that bounce next time, do you think?
Yeah, look, 6PR breakfast is a 10-3. Steve Mills and Basil Zemplis, who are doing terrific work. It may be a glitch, but obviously I'm part of CRA and would endorse the ratings methodology every single time. So we take the scoreboard for what it is and react to that. We got work to do, you know, so we believe we're very capable of that. We've identified some of the areas we want to work really hard on. But 6PR is a terrific station, terrific heritage over 80 years in Perth. We think it should be number 1.
So going forward, where are you putting the key focus over the next 12 months, say?
Sydney and Melbourne must stay number 1. 2GB in Sydney, 3AW in Melbourne. Obviously, we never take number 1 for granted, so we'll be working very hard to retain that. Growth, 4BC in Brisbane, growth, 6PR in Perth. And then the Magic Music Network with 2CH, as we talked about a little earlier.
I'm just asking a quick question about branding. I won't ask you to comment on Southern Cross Stereo, but you've rebranded, I think, 4BH to a Magic.
Yep.
2CH, maybe that might become a Magic, who knows, down the track. old guys like me, you look at the heritage, you think, oh, gee, you really be attacked, that name's worth something. But I don't know, after a few months, people get used to it, don't they? And they forget the old name. And do we bang on too much about those station handles, do you think?
It's a great question, and for all of us young at heart, James, the 2CH brand and 4BH, Four Bald Hills in Brisbane, great heritage. Magic 882, it took some time for people to get used to. I would say that's more measured in weeks, not months.
Exactly, yeah.
As long as you're true to the proposition with your music selection, your news you're offering, your brand offering, I think the experience can be managed quite well.
Yeah, well, the thing I thought it sounded like crazy to drop SAFM in Adelaide, but now it's gone, you know, well, it's part of history, you know. It doesn't take away from the achievements they made under that name, but there's something different there now.
Kiss FM as well.
It's not that big a deal. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just got to move on.
All right, Adam Lang, we'll leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Chief Operating Officer there at Macquarie Radio Network. We do have to take a quick break now on Media Week. Coming up next, we'll take a look at the free-to-air players. Has 10 Network reached the bottom, and why 7 is raising cash? Details next.